When applying for a bond, the lender looks at your income in relation to your expenses. So the higher your income while having low expenses, the higher the bond amount you'll qualify for. Now, there's this misconception that in order to qualify for an expensive house, you have to be earning a lot of money. While that is, somewhat true, you also need to have low expenses. Now, you can have somebody who maybe drives a Hyundai i10 and they will qualify for a more expensive house than somebody who drives a Range Rover because their expenses are lower in relation to their income. This week, I want to show you ways in which people sometimes decrease their chances of getting a good bond amount by filling in their expenses form incorrectly. By the end of this video, you will be able to use the system to your advantage by knowing which expenses to declare and which ones not to. I'm Sebolelo, otherwise known as Sebolelo the estate agent, and welcome to the spot where we make small money decisions that will make a massive difference when it comes to buying the first property. When you apply for a bond, the bank is going to ask you for your pay slips and your bank statements to verify your income. And they'll usually give you a form you need to fill in to declare your expenses. So this will be things like your car repayment, car insurance, credit cards, clothing accounts, cell phone contracts. And these are usually fixed amounts that appear on the credit bureau on your name. So these are quite, they're quite clear. They're not really negotiable. Where things become a little bit more blurred is when it comes to things like food, petrol, grooming, how much money do you spend on entertainment, things like that. Now, some people are very good at drawing up budgets and they know exactly where everything goes. But for some of us, it's a little bit more blurred. But I do first want to say that by the time you're house hunting, you should have done a budget where you know where your money is going and how much you've actually got to spend on your property. I did record a video explaining how to prepare for your home purchasing journey. I will add the link in the description, as well as add a link at the end of this video so that once we're done watching here, you can go directly there. On your list of expenses, you will be asked to disclose transport, credit card repayments, and food, amongst other things, of course. But sometimes those three actually overlap. Let's say you spend a lot of money on Woolworths groceries every month, but you actually buy it on account. We're not judging here. We're just calling a spade a spade. It's not a good thing. There's this challenge on social media at the moment that goes, we listen, we don't judge. So that's what we're talking about right now, where you are spending your groceries with your credit card. Now, let's say on the form you've declared that you spend 4,000 Rand on groceries every month, and you also declared that you've got a Woolworths account and your repayment is 600 Rand every month. So between Woolies and groceries, you're spending 4.6. But if you look carefully, you'll see that you're actually declaring expenses twice. Out of this 4,000 that you're writing down for groceries, let's say 900 Rand of that amount goes towards Woolies to buy the groceries. So technically, the 600 Rand repayment from Woolies is included with that 900 Rand that you've spent on groceries. I hope that makes sense, because you'll remember that, you're not going to pay that 900 Rand back in 1 month, right? That they'll spread it out over a couple of months, but then also every month you spend your groceries and your grocery amount increases. And that's how we reached spending 900 Rand a month, making you make your repayment 600 Rand. I hope that makes sense. Basically, what I'm saying is that 900 Rand that you've written down as your expenses is actually part of the 600 Rand, which is part of your Woolies repayment. So when you put in your groceries amount, you write in the amount that you spend on your groceries, say at your Checkers and your Spar and wherever you buy your groceries. The amount you spend at Woolworths, you don't need to disclose because it's already part of the amount that you're repaying in your Woolies account. The same goes for petrol money. If you are spending a substantial amount of money on petrol using your credit card, then make sure you don't have those two overlap when you're filling in the form of your expenses. Go ahead and give me a big fat like if you are appreciating this video. It gives me a good idea so that I can know what type of content you would like me to upload in the future. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that, because this is a spot where you regularly hear information about things that you'll need to know when purchasing your first home. Another incident where there is often duplication is when there's a co-applicant. You might find that sometimes one person pays utilities, then the next month the other one pays it. And so when you're filling in the form, be clear about which of the two of you is going to declare that in the form, right? So be careful not to say, we are paying 1.2 for electricity because sometimes this person pays 600, sometimes this person pays 600, because then ultimately it looks like 1.2 instead of the monthly expense, which is only 600 Rand. Please, please, please do not misunderstand what I'm saying. I am not suggesting that you omit information from your application form. I am simply saying be careful of duplication. Being dishonest on the form is the last thing I would suggest, because worst case scenario, the bank could cancel your application, and that is ultimately the last thing we want to happen here. What I am saying is take your time when you fill in that form, and also have a conversation with your bond originator or your bank consultant, because obviously if you've got 5 kids but you're saying that you only spend 300 Rand on food and petrol every month, you just maybe need to explain to them that, listen, a lot of the money actually comes from the credit card repayment. Another thing that you can omit is also expenses that are non-essential. And when I say omit, I don't mean don't write them on the form. I mean actually cancel them. I bring this up because I had a client who, usually DSTV is something that you can cancel, at the drop of a hat. But for some reason, the DSTV subscription appeared as part of his expenses on his form that the bank was saying is part of his monthly expenses. So when it comes to things like subscriptions, your Amazon, your Netflixes and some stuff like that, it might, you've got nothing to lose, so just cancel them while you are house hunting, and then reinstate them again once your property has been registered. Please understand, I'm not saying once your bond has been approved, once the property has registered. So that usually takes about 6 weeks to about 2 months or so. Make sure that you don't do it after the bond is approved, but rather once the property is in your name. Share this video with someone who's about to buy a property and help them increase their chances of getting a decent bond amount on their application. In the meantime, here's that video that I told you about that will help you plan for your purchase before you step into the big world of buying a house.